بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أهلا وسهلا بطلبتنا الأعزاء مجددا ومحاضرة جديدة مع قصة جديدة من مقرر القصة القصيرة للمرحلة الثانية كلية التربية الانسانية. معكم من جامعة الانبار أستاذ المساعد الدكتور حميد. أهلا ومرحبا بكم. Yes, you remember last time we covered dealing with the text of the first story, that is of the open window, and now we are going to deal with another short story that is of the Happy Prince by Oscar Wilde. As usual, we are going to deal with the text itself line by line in order to excite our students to know what's going on and to take notes. Some students may need one reading to cover the text. Some students may need two readings. He may read twice the text. He may read the text twice and sometimes 3 times. The most important thing is you feel that you control the ideas and you can take notes about characters, about events, plots, climax, and then to be able to write down a sort of analysis or a sort of appreciation to the most important concepts the story is after. So back to the text. The title is The Happy Prince. The author is Oscar Wilde. And the text will start talking about this statue of the Happy Prince as follows. High above the city on a tall column stood the statue of a Happy Prince. He was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold. For eyes he had 2 bright spheres, and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. Now he is describing the type of statue of the Happy Prince, how he is covered with gold, how his eyes with the bright spheres and the large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. So the students may deal with the text, with the new words, by writing down the new words, by finding out the lexical meaning with the help of a dictionary. He was very much admired indeed. He is a beautiful, as a weathercock remarked one of the town councillors, who wished to gain a reputation for having artistic taste. Only not quite so useful, he added. So one of the councillors who visits the statue always telling that only not quite so useful. So he means that this statue is no more useful, feeling lest people should think him unpractical, which he really was not. Why can't you be like the Happy Prince? Asked a sensible mother of her little boy who was crying for the moon. So there was another scene presented by a sensible mother who asked her crying boy to be like the Happy Prince, to be happy like the Happy Prince. The Happy Prince never dreams of crying for anything. He lives happily. He never dreams of crying for anything. I'm glad there is someone in the world who is quite happy, muttered a disappointed man as he gazed at the wonderful statue. So there was a man who was gazing to the statue, and he was actually expressing his feeling that he is glad that there is someone in the world who is quite happy. It's a matter of making fun of the situation. So he looks just like an angel, said the charity children. Another situation. Now we have charity children. They is describing the statue as he looks like an angel. as they came out of the cathedral in their bright skull clocks and their clean with pinafores. "How do you know?" said Mr. Mathematical Master. "You have never seen one." "Ah, but we have in our dream," answered the children, and the Mathematical Master frowned and looked very severe, for he did not approve of children dreaming. So this Mathematical Master doesn't believe in dreams. He's a man of facts, and he's not after dreams and the children dreams actually. One night there flew over the city a little swallow. Now the character of the swallow appeared for the first time after representing the scene of the statue and the counselor and this crying child and the sensible mother. We have another scene and the first appearance of the character of the little swallow, a little bird. His friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed behind. This little swallow didn't travel with his colleagues, with his friends, and he had stayed behind, for he was in love with the most beautiful reed. Why he didn't leave with his friends? Because he was in love with a beautiful reed. He had met her early in the spring as he was flying down the river after a big yellow moth, and had been so attached or attracted by her slender waist that he had stopped to talk to her. "Shall I love you?" said the swallow, who liked to come to the point at once, and the reed made him a low bow. You know bow, like this? So he flew round and round her, touching the water with his wings and making silver ripples. This was his courtship, and it lasted all through the summer. So there was an intimate relationship, there is a close relationship, there is a love relationship between the swallow and this beautiful reed through the time of summer, and this is the reason why he didn't join his friends leaving to Egypt 6 weeks ago. "It's a ridiculous attachment," twittered the other swallows. "She has no money and far too many relations, and indeed the river was quite full of reeds." They are actually objecting such type of attachment in between, such type of relation in between, between the swallow and the reed. Then when the autumn came, they all flew away. After they had gone, he felt lonely and began to tire of his lady love. "She has no conversation," he said, "and I'm afraid that she is a culprit, for she is always flittering with the wind, and certainly whenever the wind blew, the reed made the most graceful courtesies. I admit that she is domestic," he continued. Still, there is a conversation done by the swallow with himself, trying to convince him that she is not good for him to keep on such type of relation. "But I loved traveling, and my wife consequently should love traveling also." He is justifying why he is going to not to continue in such type of relationship, because he is always keeping on traveling from one place to another, and he wants his wife, his love, to travel with him like him. "Will you come away with me?" he said finally to her, but the reed shook her head. He was so attached to her home. "You have been traveling with me," he cried. "I am off to the pyramids. Goodbye," and he flew away. Now he decided to leave this beautiful reed and to flee and to go to the pyramids, to Egypt, with his friend. All day long he flew, and at night time he arrived at the city. So he spent the day flying, and at night he arrived at the city. "Where shall I put up?" he said. "I hope the town has made preparations." He wants to be a guest in this city, and he is eager to find such type of preparation. Then he saw the statue on the tall column. I will put up there, so he will choose the statue to spend the night with. He cried, it is a fine position with plenty of fresh air, so he alighted just between the feet of the happy prince. So he will spend the night under the feet of the happy prince, under the statue of the happy prince. I have golden bedrooms, he said softly to himself as he looked round, and he prepared to go to sleep, but just as he was putting his head under the wing, a large drop of water fell on him. While he was preparing himself to sleep, there is a drop of water fell on him. What curious thing, he cried. There is not a single cloud to the sky. The stars are quite clear and bright, and yet it's raining. He believes that it was because of the rain, but when he saw the sky, it was quiet and it was clear and bright, so it is not because of water. So there is another reason why this drop fell on him. The climate in the North Europe is really dreadful. The reed used to like the rain, but that was merely her selfishness. Then another drop fell over him. What is the use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain off? He is asking a question. I must look for a good chimney pot and determined to fly away. But before he had opened his wings to flee, a third drop fell. So we have first drop, second drop, third drop. And he looked up and saw, what did he see? The eyes of the happy prince were filled with tears, and the tears were running down his golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little swallow was filled with pity. You know pity? A type of passion and type of sympathy towards something or someone. Who are you? He said. I'm the happy prince, the statue answered. Why are you weeping then? Asked the swallow. You have quite drenched me. When I was alive and had a human heart, answered the statue. Now the statue is going to tell his story. When he was alive and how did he live in the palace of some place where sorrow is not allowed to enter. He was very prosperous. He lived prosperously. So I lived and so I died. And now I am dead, then have set me here so high, that I can see all the ugliness and all the misery of my city. That's the reason why he is crying. And though my heart is made of lead, yet I cannot choose but weep. So he has no other choice but weeping. Why? Because he can see the type of ugliness and misery of the people that are living in his city. So, far away continued the statue in a low musical voice. For far away in a little street there is a poor house. Now he is diagnosing and observing a poor house. One of the windows is open, and though I can see a woman seated at a table, her face is thin and worn, and she has coarse red hands, all picked by the needle, for she is a seamstress. She is embroidering passion for a stained gown for the loveliest of the queen maids of honor to wear the next court ball. This is the first thing that the statue is observing. Now, in a bed in the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. So this suffering woman has a little boy who is lying ill and she cannot help him. He has a fever and is asking for oranges. His mother has nothing to give him but river water. And this scene excites the statue to cry. So he is crying. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt? My feet are fastened to this pedestal and I cannot move. So now the statue is asking the swallow to help this suffering woman and this lying little boy who is ill by giving them the ruby of his sword hilt. My feet are fastened. He is telling the swallow that he cannot move, so he can help this poor family. Now the swallow is telling him that I am waiting for Egypt, said the swallow. My friends are flying up and down the Nile. I'm talking to the large lotus flowers. Now the happy prince is asking and actually insisting on the swallow to help this poor family and to be his messenger because of the boy is so thirsty and the mother is so sad. So I don't think I like boys. Now the swallow actually doesn't want to help boys. Why? Because boys usually used to hit the swallow with the stones. They are always throwing stones at me. The swallow is telling like this. They never hit me. Of course, we swallows fly far too well for that. And besides, I come a family famous for its agility, but still it was marked a disrespect. But the happy prince looked so sad, and the little swallow was sorry for having such type of misery because of the happy prince. He said, but I will stay with you for one night. So now the swallow agreed and accepted to stay one night and to be the messenger for the happy prince. So the prince thanked the swallow. Now the swallow started to pick up the robe from the prince's sword and flew away with it to his beak over the roofs of the town. So he started to distribute this type of ruby to help people, and he was throwing this on the roofs of the town. He passed by the cathedral tower where the white marble angels were sculptured. He passed by the palace and heard the sound of dancing. A beautiful girl came out of the balcony with her lover. How wonderful the stars are. Now he is going to check what type of people and what type of life people live in the town. He passed over the river and saw lanterns hanging to the mast of ships. He passed over the... So this is actually a description of what is the swallow is seeing actually, and what is he going to tell the happy prince and the way he can help those poor people. Now, what a remarkable phenomenon, said the professor of mythology. He was passing over the bridge, a swallow in winter. It was not recognizable before like this, that they can see a swallow in winter, but this is actually, this happened because the swallow didn't leave with his friend to Egypt, but stay as a messenger for the happy prince for the sake of helping those poor people in the city. So everyone quoted it. It was full of so many words that they could not understand. Tonight I go to Egypt, said the swallow. So this night the swallow decided to leave to Egypt, and he was in high spirits at the prospect. He visited all the public monuments and sat a long time atop a church steeps. When the moon rose, he flew back to Happy Prince. Now he is going to meet the Happy Prince for the last time, as he decided to leave for Egypt. "Have you commissions for Egypt?" he cried. "I am just starting, swallow, swallow, little swallow," said the prince. "Will you not stay with me one night longer?" Now he is asking the Happy Prince is asking the swallow to stay one night longer. So all night long he watched the stars, and when the morning star shines, he utters one cry of joy, and then he is silent. At noon the yellow lions come down the water's edge to drink. They have eyes like green pearls, and their roar is louder than the roar of the cataract. Now the prince telling the swallow that far away across the city I see a young man in a garret. He is learning over a desk covered with papers, and a table by his side there is a punch of weather violent. His hair is brown and crispy, his lips are red, and he large dreamy eyes. He is trying to finish a play for director of the theater, but he is too cold to write anymore. Now this is a story, another story told by the statue, the Happy Prince, to the swallow, that he is seeing a very old playwright, and he is incapable of completing his play because he feels cold, and there is no fire in the grate, and hunger has made him faint. This is another problem faced by the Happy Prince, and he's asking actually the swallow to go and help this playwright in order to feel warm and to help him finish writing down his play. "Alas, I have no rope now," said the prince. "My eyes are all that I have left." Now he's going to get this eyes that is of gold, and they are made of rare sapphires which were brought of India 1,000 years ago. It is very valuable. Black out one of them. So you have to get out one of them and take it to him. He will sell it to the jeweler and buy food and firewood and finish his play. So he is deciding to help this poor playwright by giving him one of his eyes to help him getting food and firewood and to finish his play. So their prince said this, "Well, I can't do that." And he began to weep. So the swallow told the prince that he's incapable of doing that, but the prince insisted that you have to do what I'm telling you to help people. "So I am beginning to be appreciated," he cried. "This is from some great admirer. Now I can finish my play," and he looked quite happy. This is actually how did the statue, the Happy Prince, with the help of the sparrow, made this man happy while they are helping him to finish his play, writing down the play. The next day the swallow flew down the harbor. He sat on the mast large vessel and watched the sailors hauling big chests out of the hold of the roper. This is another scene by the Happy Prince. Now he is deciding again to help himself and go with his friends to Egypt. But unfortunately, the prince didn't agree and asked him to stay with him another night. Why? To be his messenger to help his people. Now, the time is winter, and this weather is not suitable for the swallow because it is terribly cold and it is unbearable because of the snow, and he has to leave. But he decided to accept the suggestion of the Happy Prince and to spend another night with him, even though it was terribly cold. Now, in the sequel blue, said the happy prince. Here is another situation, very sad situation. There is a little match girl. She has let her matches fall in the gutter, and they are all spoiled. Her father will beat her if she does not bring home some money. And she is crying because she is afraid that her father will beat her if she not came back home with money. She has no shoes or stockings, and her little hair is bare. So this bad situation, this sad situation actually excites the happy prince to ask the swallow to help this young girl and not to make her cry anymore. I will stay with you one night longer, said the swallow, but I can't black out your eye. You would be quite blind then. Because he get out one of his eyes, and this is the second eye, and in case he is going to be blacked out, he will be blind and he will not be able to see. And actually this is allegorically presented like this. So, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, do as I command you. He asked him to get his second eye, to give it to this young girl in order to make her feel happy. So he did what the statue ordered him to do. Now, in the sequel, so he blacked out the prince's other eye. He plucked out the prince's other eye and darted down with it. He swept past the match girl and slipped the jewel into the palm of her hand. What a lovely bit of a glass, cried the little girl, and she ran home laughing. So the happy prince and the swallow actually are the two reasons for the happiness of this little girl, because they help her. Then the swallow came back to the prince. You are blind now. Now you are blind. You can't see, he said. So I will stay with you always. This is the decision made by the swallow to keep on staying with the happy prince, because now the happy prince has no eyes. He cannot see. He's blind now. But the poor prince asked him to go away to Egypt with his friend. But unfortunately, the swallow didn't accept that and decided to stay with the happy prince. I will stay with you always, said the swallow. And he slept at the prince's feet. All the next day, he sat on the prince's shoulder and told him stories of what he had seen in strange land. So he spent the night telling the prince what he had seen in strange nights. So the swallow flew over the great city and saw the rich making merry in their beautiful houses, while the beggars were sitting at the gates. Now this is actually a state of society, that there are upper class and there are upper class and lower class. The upper class actually live such type of within beautiful houses, and the poor unfortunately are sitting on the gates and they cannot make living. So he flew into dark lanes and saw the white faces of starving children looking out listlessly at the black streets. So, how hungry we are, he said. You must not lie here, shouted the watchman, and they wandered out into the rain. This is another scene told by the sparrow to the happy prince. So leaf after leaf of the fine gold the swallow picked up. Now he started to pick up these leaves of gold and to distribute these leaves on those people who are suffering, those people who are poor in the city of the happy prince, just to excite them, to give them another chance for living, to make them happy as quick as possible. Then the snow came, and after the snow came the frost, and this is not good for the swallow because it is terrible weather that he cannot live in. The poor little swallow grew colder and colder, but he would not leave the prince. He is a loyal friend. He is a good friend. Even though it was cold, but he didn't leave the prince alone. He loved him too well. He picked up crumbs outside the baker's door, where the baker was not looking, and tried to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. But unfortunately, he cannot feel but cold weather. But at last he knew that he was going to die. Because of the cold weather, the swallow is going to die. He had just strengthened to fly up the prince's shoulder once more. So he is getting taken off with the happy prince. Goodbye, dear prince, he murmured. He was very, very, very tired because of cold weather. And will you let me kiss your hand? I'm glad that you are going to Egypt at last, little swallow, said the prince. You have stayed too long here. The happy prince thought that the swallow will leave. That's why he taking off and saying goodbye. But the swallow was saying goodbye because he is going to die. He will not be able to travel anymore because of the cold weather. It is not to Egypt that I am going, said the swallow. I will not go to Egypt. I am going to the house of death. And this is, unfortunately, death is the brother of sleep. Is he not? This is said by the swallow. And he kissed the happy prince on the lips and fell down dead at his feet. So now, this is another concept of sacrifice done by the swallow when he sacrifices his life for the sake of people, for the sake of happy prince, in order to help people. He sacrificed himself and he fell down dead at the feet of the happy prince. This is the end of our lecture today. We hope that you get the benefit of. I advise my students to go through the text line by line like this and to take notes, to know what is going on, to write down the type of characters are there and the type of a plot and themes, and then in another lecture we may come so close to analyze and appreciate the concepts presented in such type of short story. Thank you very much.